What up? It's me. It's me. It's been about 3 years. I was just thinking recently, and I remember the thrill I used to get when I would edit these videos, and just having that creative expression is kind of what was missing from my life the last 3 years. Really, for like the last 5 or 6 years. Because if you happen to go to Ferris High School and you watched some of my videos, or if you had the misfortune of me sticking a camera in your face, then you probably remember that I would do this quite a bit. Throughout my time going to Ferris, I posted, I think, like 30 plus videos, a few of which I have privatized now, because they're terribly embarrassing. Just terribly embarrassing. It was, all of them are hard to watch. The ones from 3 years ago, the food reviews and some of the vlogs from my time in Bellingham, those weren't too embarrassing to watch. I mean, don't get me wrong, they were embarrassing to some extent, but not so much so that it was like hard to get through, you know? In reality, some of those videos from Bellingham were just nostalgic. I don't know, there's something about starting with nothing and then going through that 4 to 6 hour grind and then having a whole video of like 100 different cuts, because you just see like a whole sequence that you've created, and it's like it's invigorating. It's a process that probably some more people should experience to some level, you know? Creating. It's a thing that's missing from a lot of people's lives, and it enriches the soul. You know what I'm saying? And I know what you're thinking. I haven't made a video in 3 years, and my first video back is a podcast. I know it's like so cringe in 2025, but let me explain. So it all really started on November 28th, 2023. Since 2019, I've been a pretty big journaler. I really enjoyed journaling, and I was working for a construction company. We were framing houses. We were almost done framing this house on the north side of Spokane. And a few days prior to the fateful day of November 28th, 2023, it rained, and the rain seeped through into the basement. And so we're in the basement, and I'm on a ladder, and the ladder slips out from under me as I'm reaching for something. And I have my weight distributed in a way that wasn't the smartest. And the ladder falls, and luckily the ladder didn't fall on me. I fell on top of it, and I fell like this right onto the ground. And I couldn't really use my hand for like 2 months, and I still needed to journal because it's very therapeutic, as some of you might know. So I had the idea to just take out this camera, take out this microphone, and just go, you know, and just express myself that way. And I found that very therapeutic as well. And I did it over 100 times. And in May of 2024, last year, my hard drive that had about 6 or 7 years of photos on it, it just died on me. Granted, I did drop it a few dozen times. It had some pretty large dents in it. So it was kind of death by 1,000 cuts, if you will. But yeah, I've done this a lot of times by myself. And then I had the idea to ask people to come on. And also I have done it a few times with people. I have done a few podcasts with people. I just never posted them, both of which were on the hard drive that met its end. At the place that I currently work at, I have a few coworkers who have crazy life stories. And they said that they wanted to be on the podcast. And they said that it would be okay if I posted it on YouTube. And I said, okay, well, whatever you don't want to talk about, you don't have to talk about. And then both of them, including the one you're about to watch, said, I'll talk about everything. So I said, I will absolutely post that on YouTube. This episode with Cole Sumerlin, it was extremely fascinating. I mean, the guy's only 22, and he's been through more in his life than a lot of people go through like their entire lives, like 4 times over. I think his perspective definitely adjusted my worldview a lot. It was a very deep conversation. It was very awesome to have him here. It was just wild to hear about the to hear about life in Miami. I mean, you hear about Miami. It's a wild town. People partying until like 6 a.m. It was educational, you know, because everybody makes mistakes. But until you hear other people's stories, you're never aware of the full extent to which you can recover and be normal again, whatever that means. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Verbal Journal with Cole Sumerlin, episode 1. Enjoy.
So young, just begun. Don't need to live to know what I'll become. When you wake up, still in your makeup, you make it home just fine without breaking. Man, that's so young. That's so young. Stay calm, we'll all just get along. Sit around.
He's in for a while longer. Like, that motherfucker ain't coming. What did he do again? Was he like selling drugs or
Murdered somebody.
Oh fuck!
Yeah,
really?
during a bad drug deal.
Oh no. That's actually crazy.
Yeah.
That's actually fucking crazy.
Sounds pretty good.
I'll just keep talking normally and then you can so you can adjust it. Hello.
It should be good.
Sounds good. Bet.
To whom it may concern, this is the Verbal Journal with Cole. I don't know if you want your last name set on this. Cheers, brother.
Cole Sumerlin.
Cole Sumerlin.
There's nothing I won't share.
Yeah, that's what you said.
No, yeah, there's nothing I won't share.
Well, you were saying
I'll talk about rehab. I'll talk about fucking everything.
Right. Well, because we were chatting about putting this on YouTube, and I was like, okay, well, you know, whatever you don't want to talk about, you don't have to.
No,
right? And you're like, let's do it.
At the end of the day, I have Tourette's, so I'm gonna share more than I'm used to sharing more.
Right.
Is it cool if I vape? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and also we can cut out anything.
Okay,
you know, so feel free to just go. But it's crazy. Like, the reason why I got into psychology, because it's crazy how, like, when you meet somebody, you have no idea what they went through before.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the only thing you know is you happen to end up at the same place at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And on my first day of work, I was training with Grayson, and she's like, have you met Cole? I was like, no, I haven't met him. She's like, well, he works here. He's from Florida. He has Tourette's.
Yeah.
And he
usually that's the first thing people share. They're like 4 and he has Tourette's. If he calls you the N-word, don't slap him.
Yeah, dude. So like, is this my imagination, or did you say you lived in Germany?
I lived in Germany.
While?
Yeah, twice.
Because you were talking about how German food in the area isn't too great.
No, and honestly, I think it has so much, because you'll go to certain German restaurants, and I've been like all over to German restaurants,
right?
And like they'll be owned by a German family that used to live over there. The recipes are German, but it doesn't taste German. And I think it has everything to do with just our food, the stuff we put in our food. You know, just I think that's how it is. Like, our spices are a little bit different. You know, like we season different things, like different.
We have different preservatives.
No, exactly right. And I think it has everything to do with just our food compared to the food over in Germany. I mean, like, a lot of those restaurants, they'll butcher the cows that day and stuff. You know, you'll hear them in the morning. Like, it's fresh. It's just how they make it over there. And I think it has just everything to do with just two countries.
When there's more people in a population, I mean, then you have to mass produce, and the more you mass produce, like, the worse the quality gets. You know,
and even just the animals' like livelihood too, right? Like how they're raised. It's so much, like, pastures are way bigger. Yeah. Even in city environment areas, like, there's still those animal pastures out there. Whereas, like, you go into Spokane, there's not that. You know, it's got to come from like a Cheney or like somewhere else. You know.
Right. Yeah. Like the best eggs, like the pasture-raised eggs that I pay $10.99 per dozen. Like,
that's just so expensive right now. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, because the bird flu. Yeah, it's a big problem. But yeah, like, that quality of eggs. I mean, there's like small villages around the world where, you know, that's just standard.
No, yeah.
And they might even be better.
No, seriously.
Well. And it's like, it's crazy to think that way. I learned in Domino's in the UK, they don't allow a preservative that Domino's in the US allows. And because that preservative, they tested it on rats, and
Yeah.
it was giving the rats cancer.
No shit.
So it's like,
There's so many things in the U.S. that we allow that other countries don't. Like even the fluoride in toothpaste. I think we're one of the few countries that do that. I don't even think Canada does fluoride in theirs.
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and then there's toothpaste that say fluoride free, and then it makes you think like, well, why would it say that?
Yeah, why was there fluoride in the first place? Like they made it sound bad or something.
Yeah, and if you're advertising that there's no fluoride, does that mean there shouldn't be
Yeah,
fluoride?
literally.
Does that mean it's healthier?
Yeah.
Yeah, like dude, it was a ancient, well not an ancient, but it was in like the last like 70 years. It was a war tactic to put fluoride in your enemy's water.
No shit.
To try to like make them.
No shit.
Yeah, dude.
Did you hear about how the U.S. Got a bunch of extra small condoms, and they would go drop them in like enemy like war areas, and like, does that make sense? Like to make them like feel bad, and like that was a thing they used to do.
What?
Yeah, I swear to God, let me look that up.
Yeah, look that
up. I swear to God.
What, like they would drop like the
Drop
the
like extra small
size?
condoms, yeah, to make them
feel self-conscious.
Yeah, yeah, because but like the packaging never said there were extra small condoms. No, I think it was they dropped extra large condoms. That's what it was. They dropped extra large condoms so that when if they ever tried to use it, if they ever tried to use it, they're like, oh wow, Americans are really packing a lot more than we are, and make them like feel self.
Wow, what a crazy psychological game.
They did all sorts of weird shit.
Oh my god. What?
I think it was during World War II. Oh yeah, right here. There's a whole Reddit thing already right here. Yeah. I think I actually heard that in a Joe Rogan podcast.
Really?
Yeah. So like, I'm gonna believe him.
Yeah. He's heavily scrutinized. So because of that, most of the stuff he says that is of consequence, it's usually true.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I realized.
Yeah.
Because he always has this dude. He's like, check if that's true.
No, yeah, they have little fact checkers and stuff. I think it's
Yeah.
funny when he brings Theo Vaughn on, and Theo Vaughn will say the most outrageous shit, and they'll look it up, and it's true. And they're like, why do you know that? Yeah.
All right, so when was this? World War II?
World War II. It was during World War II. The U.S. states dropped large condoms labeled small into enemy territory during World War II. Yeah. It was like a psychological warfare kind of thing. Hold on, I'm just going to answer really quick. Hey, babe, we're recording right now. Can I call you back later? No, that's what they used to do. Is they used to drop
But who? Where?
the U.S. in like World War II and like Germans.
Oh, on German
Yeah,
territory.
yeah. I think
Okay.
Yeah, I think they did that to the Japans
That
too.
is fucking crazy.
in Japan too.
Dude, that is such a sophisticated mind trick because it's so it shouldn't matter, but then you're in the midst of war,
Yeah, right.
and you're and
Maybe
then,
you're finally gonna get some pussy.
yeah, and you're all keyed up, and you're like, all right, babe, let's go, and then it just destroys your confidence.
No, literally,
Dude,
yeah.
that's fucking insane.
They're labeled
Dude.
small and they're extra large.
Right.
Condoms. I fucking love it. I love the idea of everything about that.
I wonder how much government money went into that.
There was so much crazy spending. I was just watching a video about like how I think they spent like $800 billion during World War II on different like planes and stuff like that. From like different government contractors, like Lockheed Martin or whatever it is.
Right.
And they never got any of those planes. There's a whole movie about it. Johnny Depp actually did it. It's called The Aviator. Yeah, there's a whole movie about it too. Like there was so much money that was spent, and they never got any of the planes until like I think a couple of groups like gave them like after the war, but like we didn't need it anymore.
What, the manufacturing of the planes was outsourced to another country, and then they never gave them to us?
No, literally, yeah.
That's fucking
There's
crazy.
so much money. I mean, even now, not to like get into like straight politics, but I know Trump just canceled a lot of like money that they give to like different states and groups. Grayson's sister, her job is she plants trees all around Washington, and they get government funding for that. But he canceled all government funding because it turns out there's some absurd shit. Like they were spending $50 million to send condoms and birth control over to Gaza and shit. So he's like, I think he canceled everything. His plan is to like look through it all and see like what is actually important, like what should we actually be giving money to.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are losing their jobs because of that. I mean, like Grayson's sister, like their money came from like the government and like different like groups and stuff like that. And
right. So they're even defunding these programs like domestically within the United States.
All of those programs. His plan is to bring them back right? But wants to stop all spending until he can go through it, see what's actually important, and then continue to start funding those things.
Yeah,
why the fuck are we spending? What does Gaza need condoms and birth control for? Like, why are we even doing that? We've been doing that since the 90s.
Yeah, and is it really our concern?
Yeah.
Is the thing, it's and if that's really important to them, it's like I wouldn't expect like another country to provide us with like birth control and prophylactics and
no, literally.
But one of the most disturbing things I heard was that you know how much money the United States gives to other countries, but the wildfires that happened in Hawaii like last year or 2 years ago, those people were given like a $700 as a loan.
Yeah.
And that's just like crazy. Like we got to take care of our own before we could start, outsourcing billions of dollars to other countries.
And what's also crazy too is like, where were those countries when Hawaii was burning down? Right? It's like some of those countries were closer than we were. I think, right? But like
physically close?
No, I think so. Yeah. Like I don't know like actual like map wise how close they are, but like either way, we have to send planes over. Right. To go help fight that. It's not like we have a road that goes over there. Right?
Gotcha, okay.
I mean, we're giving all this money and helping other countries and stuff. Where were they when some of our islands were literally burning down?
Right, because when people go to Hawaii, they always talk about how long of a plane ride it is. And because it is in the United States, you wouldn't immediately think that it's super far away, but it really is.
No, it is, yeah. Same with Alaska, too. Where we're just like, there was a bunch of fires in Alaska and nobody was helping out with that, right?
Right. Yeah, we kind of lend a helping hand to like too many. We got to make sure everything is lock and key here before we start,
giving money to other countries and stuff like that.
And that's a big problem. And last year when I went to Armenia and Turkey, it gave me a perspective because like when you watch the news or you read articles, you tend to think like, man, it's so fucked here in the United States. But the reality is when you go to other places, you realize that it doesn't negate the problems that we have here, but you see countries with other problems that make you think like, okay, well, the United States isn't awful.
Yeah.
Like when I went to Turkey, when I got there, 2 weeks prior, somebody was arrested for being allegedly homosexual. Yeah,
and we're worried about what we're doing. You know what I mean? It's like it's crazy what goes on in some other countries.
Yeah, it's different problems, but in that way, like we are far more advanced. And, and progressive.
It's crazy how much other countries talk about us, and we don't. People in the U.S. aren't really talking about other countries as much either. So, like for instance, right? Like I had a roommate. She was from South Africa.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the people in like the yachting community. They're from all over, countries all over, Austria.
Sure.
Sometimes they'll just talk about politics. They'll know more politics than I do about the U.S. And I'm like, I couldn't tell you anything political. I don't even know who your president is. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't tell you anything about your country. It's like we don't talk about like other countries as much as they talk about us, which is kind of odd to think about.
American culture is so widespread.
Oh yeah.
When I went to Turkey, I was looking forward to like hearing the music of other cultures. Same with Armenia, but it's just American music.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I went into a cafe, and it was playing Revenge by XXX Tentacion.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. Even a lot of the movies these other countries are watching are American movies. Like we produce so much media, and I'm not like, there's other countries that are also producing movies and things like that, but we're not really watching movies from other countries that often.
No.
And a lot of people are watching US, like movies from the US.
Yeah, it's like romanticized.
Yeah.
Like the U.S. is still the promised land. I don't think it's in the place that it was in like the 80s.
Yeah.
But it definitely like people, like my grandfather when he grew up in Lebanon, they would make soup, and if there was like a peanut in your soup, then that meant you were going to America.
Yeah.
Like people were just
That's crazy.
jazzed. Like they just like they couldn't wait to come here, and they would take massive chances.
Oh yes.
In Middle Eastern culture, you live with your family until you're like 25 or 26.
Isn't that how Russians are kind of too?
Yes.
I remember Victoria talking about that too. Yeah, that's how they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my grandfather left that all behind, and he came here with like $1,000.
Yeah.
And my grandmother was pregnant with my dad, and he just like took a chance to be successful in America.
It's just so crazy with the people that like what people will do for that that opportunity.
Yeah,
and I think we take that for granted sometimes too.
Yeah, people in our generation.
100%.
Yeah, and I'm only 3 generations removed from my grandparents like taking a chance. So I try to like readjust my perspective and be thankful that I came here. So you said you lived in Germany in two stints?
2 different times, yeah. So my dad was military, that's why we moved over there.
That's right. Okay.
The first time we went over there, it was around 4 or 5 years we were there, and then the second time I think we were only there for like 2 years. He had just made chief, like promoted to chief, so they needed him back over here.
Right.
So I wish I was a little bit older when I was there, because I feel like I would have been able to appreciate it more. I was pretty young when I was over there.
How old?
I want to say the first time I was probably around 7 or 8.
Oh, okay.
The second time I was in middle school. I think I had just gotten to like 6th grade when I was my second time over there.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, like going to like Anne Frank's house or Auschwitz or something like that. Like when you go.
You went to Auschwitz? Oh my goodness.
The first time we actually went, we immediately left. It's very graphic. It's extremely graphic, and we were there, and my parents saw it, and were like, this is not something for how old I was, or like, we need to leave. This is a little bit more graphic than they thought it was for my age to see. So we left, went back again the second time we were there, and like, man, the fucking shoes like, they have all their shoes still, glasses, you can see the cans that they use. What is it that they dropped in during the showers?
Some sort of gas?
It was some sort of, but they were like these pellets pretty much. The reason that it was like a shower was because once the pellet hit the water, that's what turned it into that gas. That's kind of how it worked. Yeah, and they had all the cans that were there, like the walls for the firing squad that are just covered in bullets, like some of the trains. It's a lot to take in. Everyone's so quiet. Yeah, everyone's just, it's overwhelming. Yeah, no matter how insensitive you are, like that's the type of thing that would be like very sobering. And I was young, and I can tell you every detail of it. Like, like, well, I think that's the first time, like, at my age, is the idea of like seeing not death itself, but like just, you can understand what I'm saying, like just the idea of death, and because it's like this intangible like thing in your mind, and then when you're like confronted with it, it's like it's something that is promised during our existence as humans, but for some reason we can't fathom it very well. It's like going to a funeral for the first time. It's like you can mentally prepare yourself as much as you can, but that feeling that you get, it's like a never before feeling. Right. It's but so is it big? Is Auschwitz like? Is it a large piece of land? It's pretty big, I'd say. There's only so much you can go see, right? Like, because a lot of stuff is like, it's like they would take out the door and they put a glass door instead, so you could look inside, right? Because some of the stuff is untouched, right? Since then, and it probably should stay that way, and to preserve the history of it. Pretty much, and a lot of like the cabins, like those long cabins that they would live in, like you could go in, and they would kind of set it up how like it was, back in the day. Like what they had to live in and stuff. And what kind of sleeping arrangement was it on the floor? It was like, I remember some of them were wooden and they were really long. And imagine like bunk beds, right? But they're kind of skinnier, like a wooden shelf, and like there you could fit like 4 people on. But it was just all that. Right. Yeah. I wonder if there was mattresses. Maybe not. No, there was like nothing. They slept on the wood. Yeah. They were like lucky if they got like a blanket. Damn. Yeah. So sad. That's crazy. And you were 6th or 7th grade, so you were... No, I think it was actually 5th when I went to go see it. I was in 5th grade when I went to go see it. It's like 11 years old. Yeah, and I also saw Anne Frank's house, her actual house, as well. God. This camera records in 20-minute increments. Oh, really? Yeah. Have we already been going for 20 minutes? Yeah. That's crazy, dude. One of the most famous pieces of scripture is... or I don't know about scripture. One of the most famous pieces of literature is her diary, which is like, I've heard the conspiracy theory, if you want to call it that it wasn't actually her diary, but there's all sorts of weird stuff. Yeah, but nevertheless, like, I've seen the diary. They have it in there. Is it in like some sort of case? Yeah, it's in a glass case. You can't read it because it's in a different language, of course. Hebrew, probably. It's in something, but they also had. like pamphlets in the U.S. basically that were in like, English. They kind of like some of the things that she wrote, and you can read it from the pamphlet.
Right.
I remember there was also an audio thing that you could put in your ears, and it gave you like a virtual tour in English.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
people who were like come from different countries, you can get a tour in your language.
Nice.
Yeah. So
That's,
you actually like go up the staircase and see where they lived up there. And
it was up. It was upstairs
because it was behind like a bookcase pretty much that was on the wall, and they keep it like they kept the bookcase and they have it like partially open, so you can kind of see what it like looked like.
Right.
They also had pictures next to it to see what you can see what it looked like closed, and you kind of go up like I can't remember it being kind of like spirally, like you had to like go up and like it was like a wooden attic kind of. It just looked like.
So they must have had that. They must have had it that way because they were aware. They were aware of the possibility of people.
No, that's what it was. They were trying to stay hidden the whole time. They had when you go up there. There wasn't really much light because they have blackout curtains on everything, so that any Nazis or anyone, if they were trying to look in, they could see it pretty much.
Yeah,
they couldn't see it, but yeah, and they're living. Kind of you get all the beds and everything in there. You can see how they lived. It was pretty interesting.
That's fucking crazy.
But I wish I was older to experience that.
Yeah,
I feel like I'd have a whole different perspective now, like compared to me being younger, trying to understand why they were doing that.
Were you curious enough? Because I'm just thinking from my perspective. Mm-hmm. Like I went to Armenia last September, and I went there when I was 16 years old as well. And a part of me was like, I thought it was cool, but I was like when are we gonna go home, sort of thing. But it was
I was 100% like that.
Okay,
yeah.
But like, did you think of it in terms of like when am I gonna go home? Because it's like. Because you were traveling so much, you were living in different places.
I mean, in a way, yeah. Because I was also, when you're bringing a younger kid around all these different museums and like, because we went to Paris, we went to the Louvre. It's not that interesting. I was always my parents were always like, all right, if we go do this for the day, we'll take you to this fun place, right? So. It's a weird feeling, like being inside of like Auschwitz and thinking, like, God, when are we gonna go to the arcade? You know what I mean? So, like, that's and you don't want to say that out loud. Like, when are we going?
Sure. Yeah.
But I remember because it was in Amsterdam, and I remember when we were in Anna Frank's house, and at first it's really cool, like, oh, a spiral staircase, we're gonna go in the attic and everything. But the tour's long, kind of, and you're there looking for a while, and I'm staring at a book that I can't even read. And I'm just like, I just want to go. But I know if I went now, I would really appreciate it, and I'd want to be there a lot more. And that's why I wish I was older when I lived over there.
Definitely. I mean, you're 22, and I mean, at that age, I mean, especially given everything that you've gone through, you understand. You have a far better understanding of mortality and consequence in life. Yeah. So, where were you born?
I was born in Florida, actually.
Okay.
I lived in Florida 3 times now, actually. I was born there. We lived there when I was around 12. I was in elementary, or no. I want to say I was younger than 12. It was right before the second trip to Germany. So I was in elementary school.
Okay. So you were born in Florida, and you stayed there for how long before you left?
I think we were just there for a year. I was a baby, though. We were just there for a year, moved to Germany, moved back to Florida, and then back to Germany. Then I moved to Virginia, like D.C. area.
Okay.
And then from Virginia, I moved to Washington. Did 8th grade and all high school here. My dad retired here. Moved to California, and then I moved to Florida.
Where in Washington?
Here.
Oh, okay.
Spokane area, yeah.
Wait, so where did you go to school?
I went to Cheney High.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I know my way around here pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but then that's kind of also why I moved back because my family's here. So
right.
If anything, I want to say I grew up here. I've been here the longest than I've been anywhere else because my dad retired here, so we were here. I want to say for 8-9 years.
Sure. Okay. So you went from here to California and then Florida?
Mm-hmm. So I moved to, my sister lived in California. I went and moved in with her for a bit. I want to say for like 9 months. At the time I was trying to join the Marines.
Oh, okay.
This is kind of like this is right after high school pretty much. I went to California. Her husband was a Marine. I was going to go live with them for a bit. And I was going to work out, kind of train with him, get ready for boot camp. I couldn't get in. I spent 2 years trying to get into the Marines.
Why not? Why couldn't you get in?
Just health. Tourette's is a no-go.
It's a hard
knee
no.
surgeries. I've got 3 knee surgeries. That was a hard no. And the hard part was, since my dad was military, I've been to military hospitals my whole life. So they have access to all my records. It's not like my 2 other buddies who got in. One of them's allergic to bees. That's a big no-go. They won't let you in. But
Right.
You just didn't have to. You just didn't share it. Right. Whereas like I had to share everything because they have access to. They're like, all right, so what's this? What's this? We see that you've had these 3 knee surgeries. And I'm like, it was just 2 years of just trying to fight to get in.
Damn.
That's when I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do something fucking cool. Went into yachting.
Right.
And then that's when I went from California to Miami.
Well, how'd you get into that? Like how'd you just decide, oh, I'm gonna get into yachting? Did you have friends in the business?
No, honestly, I've seen. Has a lot to do. Like I've seen the Below Deck show, of course.
Below Deck.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Yeah.
I saw that. I love boats. I love ships. It's my dream to own one and live on it. That's my dream.
Okay.
And I was like, man, that looks awesome. What if I did that? And I started looking into it and talked to my dad about it. And he goes, yeah, there's a school in Fort Lauderdale. And mind you, this isn't me bragging, but I had free school because my dad was military.
Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's like, man, if you want to do it, they'll cover everything. They'll cover housing, they'll cover school, everything. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna take the shot. Packed my bags, went down there, did all the school. Yeah.
That's
and then
crazy.
Right after that, I did my scuba school, and that's when I got my instructor's permit. Couldn't get a yacht job to save my life, so I actually started working at that dive shop to make money.
Was it due to your due to your age?
It was just a lot. It's a competitive competition of yachts and stuff. Everyone's applying to try to get on boats, and they don't want people with zero experience.
Right.
None of these boats do. They have to take a chance on someone, or you have to know someone on the boat pretty much to get your first boat job. But like once you get your first, it's easy sailing after that. You have experience.
That's tough. That's a tough barrier to entry. It was kind of. What's up, Ryan? It's kind of like my roommate. Like, he's looking for jobs. He's an engineering degree. He's an engineering major.
Oh yeah.
And they kept saying like, because he just graduated, so they kept saying like, well, we need like
experience.
You need experience. He's like, how
am I supposed to get experience?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how it was. Yeah. And I was
Okay.
down there for like 8 months. Couldn't get a job.
So you got a job at the scuba school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the place I went, because they're a full dive shop, and they also do like the courses and stuff. But they have something called a TIP program. It's total immersion program. They take someone who's never dove before, and they bring you all the way to instructor, pretty much.
Okay.
Because usually when you scuba dive, like you do a course, you have to get a bunch of dives under your belt, and then you can do your next course. But you pretty much just pay for like all of the time in between, and they take you on dives to get extra. Does that make sense?
Right.
And it's cool because it was actually really for military people, right, who have that GI Bill and want to start diving or make a career out of it.
What does GI stand for?
I don't know what it stands for, but it's the GI Bill. That's like what the military like gives you money for school and stuff after you get out.
It's gastrointestinal.
And so I used that for that like course and everything. Couldn't get a job. They really liked me throughout the course and stuff. And I was like, hey, I gotta get money somehow.
Right.
Once you're out of school, they stop giving you the money. Pretty much. It's really just for school.
So the school that you were in, it was like a scuba instructing school, or am I getting that wrong?
No, yeah, it was. So basically, they do. It's like a scuba shop, pretty much, right? They, you can go there, you can get certified, or you can just, if you're already certified, you can go out. They'll take you out on dives and stuff on the boats.
Okay.
Pretty much. I just did the course part, but they still take you out on dives. You have different instructors throughout the entire process. But when I was like diving and like doing my course stuff, I was with other certified people that just wanted to go scuba dive at that wreck.
Okay.
Yeah, so like they take you out with the rest of the group of people that are already certified, and pretty much.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask you what portion of the people who get scuba certified are just doing it for fun.
Most people are.
Okay.
Yeah. The only reason you go up, so for instance, right, different certifications let you do different things underwater. If I were to certify you for an open water, that lets you go. You can't go past 60 feet.
Okay.
Right, and unless you go get a deep diver course, or you go up to advanced, you go up to your advanced next, or if you want to go scuba dive at night, you got to take a nighttime scuba course, pretty much, to get certified to do that.
Okay.
Anything that you do underwater needs a certification, pretty much. So a lot of people that go for just recreational, like fun, which most people do, they're usually just an open water or like an advanced open water, pretty much. There's zero reason to keep going up unless you're going like career-wise.
Okay, and how long does it take to get certified as... Is the first tier open water?
Open water, yeah. So that takes around a week.
Okay. And how many dives?
You only... Actually, it's changed now. But when I did it, you need a certain amount of pool ones. So you do most of your stuff in the pool. You learn everything in the pool. And then right at the end, the last day, they take you out into the ocean, around 30 feet. And that's your final dive, and then you are open water certified.
And that's the final determining factor to see if you're like good enough to be certified.
And then you go do everything that you did in the pool out in the ocean. So they give you a lot of practice in the pool because the requirements, right, are taking your breathing device and you throw it while you're underwater. And the idea is that you need to know how to retrieve it properly, and right, because like people. Like sometimes it'll be behind you. If you let it go, it can get up behind you. And they teach you like you go down your side, up with your arm, and that's usually catches it, and you can find it. So it's like if something were to happen underwater, it teaches you how to do that.
Right.
It teaches you how if your mask fills up with water, what to do. How to get the water out of your mask when you're 80 feet deep.
And is it simple? Is the concept simple?
I mean, open water is pretty simple. It's freaky. I think it was the second scariest course because I think it's my first time doing it. But as soon as you're consistently diving, a lot of those courses come a bit easier.
Right.
Rescue was terrifying. My rescue diving course.
Which is like which tier?
So you go open water, advanced open water, and then you have to get specialties, right? So you have to get you can either get a night diver or like different specialties before you can apply for your rescue, and that basically shows that. You've done enough dives too. You need like 40 dives under your belt before you can apply to rescue.
40 dives, like certified with an instructor, and they determine whether each dive was...
So a certified dive is past 15 feet for 20 minutes. That is a legal dive. Okay. Right? So if I did an 18-minute dive at 15 feet, I can't log that as a dive. So...
It's a big mental game. Because it's, because like I've never scuba dived before, but I know enough to know like when you're underwater, you just kind of freak out a little bit. When
it can be terrifying.
Yeah, when I go swim laps at the gym, I'm like freaking out a little bit when I'm like short on breath.
No, yeah.
And I'm like I need to come up. Like even that just kind of gets to you. So I can't imagine. You've probably seen some people break, right?
Oh yeah. So the point of rescue, it's kind of funny. So the shop that we worked at really hired a lot of ex-military.
Sure.
And
guys with nerves of steel.
No, yeah. And our rescue diver was pretty interesting. So in the beginning of the course, our rescue instructor that we were going to have in the future kind of just followed us around. He's like, hey, if there's anything that you're afraid of or that I can help you out with, let me know. We'll figure it out underwater and I'm going to help you out, right? Like I shared like my Tourette's. That was a huge issue for me underwater. If I start ticking or if I have a mouth tick like this, my mouth is going to fill with water, right? If I go like that or if I like have to touch my face, water's in my mask. He really helped me out through that. Turns out the only reason he was figuring out all of our fears and to help us with was he was our rescue instructor, and when he hit rescue course, he did all of those things to us. They try to make you break underwater. They want you to freak out. You're completely safe. You're actually we had 3 instructors that day.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and what they do is they'll take you underwater. They took us to a lake that we can only really see 5 feet in front of us. The visibility was terrible. It'd be like scuba diving out here.
Okay.
You can't really see underwater in these lakes super far. It's not super good visibility, but yeah, no, they'll come up to you, they hit you, they rip your stuff off your mask, they'll turn off your tank, trying to see if you freak. Like that's the point, right? They're trying to get you to freak out underwater. And if you can remember everything that you need to do to properly like kind of get yourself back together, right?
Yeah, because probably each concept you learn is probably simple, but it's like...
But when you're in a panic,
right.
80 feet, like it's not like you can swim to the surface.
Right.
You are completely reliant on your own gear.
And you're in a different world.
Oh, it's a whole different world.
It's not your world. You're in something else's world
yeah.
where you can't survive, but you use technology. You're fully reliant on technology to survive.
My little electronic computer telling me when I need to go up, or if I'm too deep for too long, right? Of course, I carry like analog stuff, like actual like gauges that tell me my air, and I don't just rely off of an electric gauge because what if the battery dies, things like that. So there's like a billion things you have to worry about when you're under there. But when you're down there, you are completely it's your job to make sure that you make it back up.
Yeah.
And it's no one else is there to help you.
Yeah.
So, and if you didn't set up your gear right before you went down, it can be scary.
Does that sort of do the same thing as like hunting does to some people? Because sometimes like Joe Rogan's talked about this, where he saw like a grizzly bear or he saw like a mountain cat, and it looks at him like is this my is this my meal?
Yeah.
And is it humbling in that way? Where
I think so, especially like when you're down there with bigger creatures. When a big shark comes up on you, you know, or even groupers,
dude.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's actually really interesting though. Sharks want nothing to do with us. Whenever we found sharks on our dives, we're following it. It doesn't want anything to do with it. As soon as it sees us, it's kind of usually out of there. Or it knows that we're there and it's staying like it's not coming near us.
Interesting.
Yeah, unless it's tiger sharks can be a little. Those ones hunt for game. I want to say for fun sometimes. They kill for fun, right? They fuck with shit. They're not scared, right? Whereas all of their sharks, they kind of just they hunt when they're hungry, right?
Okay.
Tiger sharks are just aggressive.
I wonder what if they just like if they're kind of like being recreational. I wonder if that means that they thrive.
They do. Yeah, they're just extremely aggressive animals, man, and it's like they want it to be known. Kind of it's crazy.
You ever had somebody that get injured by an animal?
Well, yes. One of our instructors got pushed into a wall by a grouper, and that hurt him.
What's a grouper?
A grouper is a massive fish.
Yeah.
I can pull up a picture of them. They can be like 8 feet long, and it's funny because when they're underwater, they bark. They're like when they make a noise, they sound like barks. Grouper. They're fucking huge, and if they push you into a wall, I mean, like here's a small one. But these. God! They get so big that, I mean, like bigger than this table. Like if it wants to push you around, it's gonna push you around.
And he got pushed in. And somebody in your...
He was inside of a wreck, and the grouper was also in there. He didn't see it. The grouper got a little freaked out and kind of was trying to get out. He got pushed up against the wall. He had a pretty bruised chest. I think he cracked one of his ribs. Yeah, just the power of... And it wasn't even trying to attack or anything. Groupers they can come at you a bit, but they just float and they kind of do their thing. You kind of stay away from it.
Fuck, dude.
I knew someone who got bit by a barracuda once. I didn't really know him that well. It was more like someone that came and dove with us a lot, like a customer. I wasn't there to see it, but he got bit by a barracuda, and those things are fucking crazy, man.
A barracuda is...
Those are the big, long fish. They're just...
What family does it belong to?
I don't know.
Okay.
Those things are freaky. If I saw a massive shark on one side and a barracuda, I'm gonna go towards the shark.
That's a crazy concept.
Yeah.
So, like, in your perspective, somebody who has experience in the ocean and seeing the different types of animals, oh my
That's a
god,
barracuda.
dude!
They're huge.
Dude, seeing one of those.
Terrifying.
I mean, when you were talking about the high pressure situations, the high pressure situation that is being underwater with an oxygen source, like, I didn't immediately think of all the animals that you might encounter that just scare the shit out of you. I just think about like the suffocating feeling of being underwater. That adds a whole different element to it.
Yeah, it makes it a lot freakier because you're already sometimes like, especially if you're pushing your limits a little bit and you're like, all right, we got to go up.
In terms of depth?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, you're like, all right, I need to go up in the next 3 minutes or I'm going to hit my decompression. And that means I've got way too much nitrogen in my system. Pretty much, and I got to get to a certain area and stay there for like 10 minutes and hope I have enough oxygen to make it to the top, or I'll get the bends. And then sometimes you're already worried about that, and then you'll look up and you'll see a barracuda, and it just adds on top of it.
And then you start breathing heavily, wasting your oxygen.
Seriously, yeah, that's why they keep you in that rescue course. Like, keep your cool. That's the idea. They fuck with you, and they basically bring you through hell. Is the idea. And that way, now I know if I get kicked underwater, I've had it happen to me. I'm a lot calmer now. Right. You know, I've had my oxygen ripped out before, you know, and they kind of prepare you for that.
When does that happen in a real world situation? If an animal comes...
Other divers is really it. Other people kicking, panicking. Panicking underwater is the leading cause of diver death, really. Or just, you know, going past your limit underwater and you have to go and do your deco stop and you run out of air, things like that. But yeah, panicked divers is like the number, like, it's terrifying because like they start panicking, they're grabbing whoever is around them, you know. Or sometimes there's been times where people don't understand how long their fins are and they're in front of you and they kick your face and it knocks your stuff off. Stuff like that happens all the time.
How buoyant is the oxygen mask? It'll
fall.
Can it fall like 50 feet in a matter
It'll go until I mean like with me, I'd be able to grab it. Like I feel like I've also been underwater enough with being like, with my eyes open and not have goggles on. Like I could find it. I always carried a spare with me. I always carry a spare in my pouch.
Okay.
And that's also just for my students too. If something were to happen, I can put my spare on them.
Damn.
As an instructor, you usually carry like 3 of everything.
What, and is it like ski goggles where it like straps in?
Pretty much, yeah. They're the big goggles, and it just go in the back, yeah.
Or no, like
So-
is the mask like ski goggles where you just strap it
It's
behind
not
your
like
head?
it's not like a full mask, so it's just here. But yeah, that's the idea, is it just goes behind your head. But when they get kicked off the front, they fall off your back. Right. So now you're looking for your goggles behind you. Right. Sometimes they'll get stuck here, and you're looking forever. It turns out they're just stuck to your back.
Dude, that would be fucking freaky.
It's super freaky.
To be able to control your breathing and just remain in a state of zen, that's terrifying.
Especially then you have to, like, if you don't find them, you have to get all the way back to the line. Right. Read your computer, like with no goggles on. It's hard to see. Now you have to get up without any vision. And that could be a bit terrifying.
My God,
Yeah.
dude. It's crazy to hear you talk about this, and like hear what you've done, and then like, and then contrast that with the place that I work.
No,
with
literally,
you at.
we'll go to and I'll just be talking about random shit.
And it's like, it's crazy like what you're actually capable of, because you're such a jovial guy. You joke around a lot, but you're capable of operating in extremely high pressure
Having
situations.
students that you have to take care of underwater. I used to run my own classes. I have my own classroom.
How many people would you take on a dive just by yourself? Just a few?
Max I would ever do is 3. I
Right.
think the limit, the shit keeps changing though too. I think the max is 4.
Okay.
You can do, unless you have another instructor with you.
Right.
But it makes sense though. Like it's difficult enough to take care of 3 people underwater who don't know how to dive. Like I'll be helping someone here, someone's floating to the surface behind me. Like all sorts of shit's going on. People are like wandering off.
Or if all 3 of them panic all at once.
No, yeah. So, and it's crazy is like when you're taught in school, especially for cave diving, if your partner, whoever you're with, panics underwater, you leave them. That's the rule. You leave them because they're dragging you down with you. You know, unless I know I'm like with another instructor, right? Their air runs out, I'm gonna swim over them. I know they're not gonna panic. I trust them.
Right.
I know they're not gonna rip my air out of the mouth just so they can breathe. Or if they do, then that's fine because I know they're gonna and then give it back.
Right.
Whereas a normal panicked diver, they will do whatever to save themselves. Your body goes into a fight or flight response. I mean, I've seen a dad like freaking out. He had too much weight. He didn't have his octo in his mouth. He started going down. He was holding on to his kid next to him to stay above, and his kid was going on. Like that's just crazy to think.
Yeah.
It's like your body just will do whatever it needs to survive when that kicks in.
You probably learned a lot about yourself in those situations, right?
Oh, 100%. When we were going through rescue too, it's when I was getting fucked with and my oxygen, I didn't give a shit if my buddy was gonna make it out next to me, right? Because the same thing was happening to him. I know we were all safe. That's a better feeling because there's 2 other divers right next to you, and if I'm like, I can't get my octo in time, or like I can't figure it out, they're gonna shove it in your mouth, and you're gonna be like, you are safe. You are completely safe.
Okay.
No matter if you can't get your air in time or if you can't figure out the task, they'll be like, all right, we'll give you oxygen, right? And they'll be like, all right, let's calm down for a second. That's what I had to do once. I couldn't get my tank back on. I tapped out. They give you air. They put the goggles back on you so you can see, and they kind of you just sit there for a minute, calm down, and like, all right, let's redo it.
And is it right here?
Yeah, you're
Like this? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's like, does it come off the side?
Yeah, it's a nozzle on the side, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you can twist it pretty easily. Unless they really crank it shut, then it could be hard.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes you have to take all of your gear off you, right, and fix whatever that is. Yeah.
Holy shit.
So freaky, yeah.
Yeah, so how many years and or months were you doing that before you got a connection to get into the yachting game?
So I was kind of doing a little bit of both in between. I was working on a boat for free, actually, and it was kind of a good trade. His name was JD. Actually, we should probably cut that out. I'll mute that because I'm probably going to say some illegal shit. I can get him in trouble.
Right, yeah, I got you.
But the idea was, it wasn't too big of a boat. The dude was a fucking drunk. He wanted to party all the time. And he's like, here's the thing. I don't let guys on the boat, right? But I'll let you on if you help me fix things, right? When things break, you can drink as much as you want, and you can borrow the boat. right? I'm not gonna fucking pay you to come fix my boat when it's broken, though. It was a good deal, right?
Okay.
There's times where I'd be like, hey, can I borrow the boat? Me and my friends all want to go to the Bahamas for the weekend. Sure. You would load it with alcohol, right? Because there's also there's times out there that I'd be out there for 2 weeks fixing the engines, taking things apart, diving underwater, fix the prop. I was never getting paid for it, but it was a good trade.
But during that time when you're not getting paid, you're working as a dive instructor to kind of make ends meet?
Pretty much, yeah. But I was also during then, like when I was on that boat, I was 100% clocking all my hours to turn into to the maritime, like Coast Guard, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
For what purpose?
That for a job. I can now say that I've fixed engines on boats. I've driven these boats. You know, I've thrown these lines. Right. Like I've been doing this for the past 6 months. Even though it wasn't like a really full-time work position, right? I can easily now say I can get on that boat, fix it. I can go under. I can fix the prop.
Yeah.
I can dock the boat.
So that's kind of what got you in.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is that free work? Mm-hmm. That's kind of how you get into anything.
No, really.
Even photography, you start out by doing gigs for free. But your line of work, the yacht game, like you said, the barrier of entry is insane. So because I was wondering when you were talking about it, like you didn't know somebody, like you didn't have a connection. So
no,
that was really the only
thing
way.
that helped me was when I was going through school and I met people in crew housing that I lived in. Crew housing is only for other yachties.
Right.
You meet a lot of people in there, people who do have experience, right? And maybe you get close with some of those people, and when they're on a boat, they're like, and someone gets fired, something happens, and the captain's like, does anyone know anyone that's good at this? I'm like, oh, I have a buddy who's also a yachty. Let me give him a call. Things like that really help you out. Is you can meet other yachties when you're going through school or just living in the housing. Okay. And that's what helped me get my first full-time job, was one of my roommates that I lived with. Yeah, she got me a job.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Is it mostly like pretty like serious people, like straight edge people?
Yeah.
So
it's the craziest group of people I've ever met are other yachties. They're the most party people. They're the type of people that dropped everything for the opportunity at this job. They don't even know if it's going to work out. Right, all we own is what can fit in a small duffel bag. Those are the type of people that will drop everything for a chance.
Yeah.
Right. They'll live off of a backpack just to go and pay a bunch of money for this school, see if they even get in. Right. Like they're like, let's fucking do it type of people. And but when you're on the boat, it's fucking serious business though.
Sure.
Right. There's not really as much screwing around. You're also with very high end clientele, and at the end of the day, if you do something that could affect like the ship, like on a safety concern, it's a big issue. It's a huge issue. You can get kicked off immediately.
And blacklisted?
Oh, yeah, pretty much. A lot of different companies won't let you. You can't use that boat as a reference anymore.
Right.
JD, I put it on there, but I never gave his name as a reference because I was like, if they actually called him, I said his name again. If they actually called him, honestly, it'd be fine. It'd be fine if he used his name.
Really?
Yeah.
Would it be?
Yeah, it'd be fine.
Yeah, you didn't use last name.
No, it'd be fine. And that's not even his actual full name. It was just a nickname. And if they called him and they talked to him like on the phone, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't want anything to do with this guy." Like he was just that. He was not a super smart guy. He really only really cared about doing drugs with younger women. Like you don't want your boss to talk to this guy.
How old was he?
He was in his 40s.
What, and he was hitting on 20-somethings?
Oh yeah, and he got him. Well, he has a yacht, dude. That's how it worked. Is like, some of my what I would have to do when we'd go dock, he'd be like, all right, go find a bunch of girls to get on the boat. And our jobs were to go and find girls to bring on the boat.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and to walk up to them like, hey, how's it going? Do you guys want to go on a yacht? Blah, blah, blah. We're parked right over here and we're just looking for some more people to party with. And an older, creepier looking guy like himself, nobody's going to say yes to that. Yeah. But a younger, good looking guy, they'd be like, oh yeah, let's go party on. I usually just say it's my yacht. Like, hey, you guys want to come on my yacht? You know? Not the older guy that told me to come get you.
Was he rough looking?
Oh my God, no, he was actually ripped. He was on so much steroids.
Oh,
yeah, it's Miami.
Really?
It's Miami, dude. Yeah. Oh he was on so much steroids. And he was always drunk and on drugs. And what would happen is he would drive us all out there, and he'd get so fucked up that I would have to drive the boat back.
So that gave you experience as a future yacht captain?
No, literally, yeah. Well, all the videos that you saw, I don't know if you've seen them on my Instagram.
No.
Of me on that white boat. It's all his boat, and you can tell I'm the only guy on there because he doesn't like guys on the boat. He doesn't. Yeah, because he just wants girls. He just wants a bunch of girls on his boat, and some of them will be 18. Yeah, so. That's me diving. But this is me driving it. It's night. And you can tell that he's passed out downstairs.
Wow.
Through downtown Miami. I mean,
oh my god.
not a single other guy in sight.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my
Fucking
god.
creepy dude, though. Creepy fucking dude. And it works, though. I mean, like, he's like people were putting out, you know, so they can come back on his boat and drink, and yeah.
Well, yeah, Miami. I've never been there, but the idea of Miami that I have is that it's like it's a place of vanity where it's all about just like
Your looks, yeah.
Yeah, you want
The
to
worst
look
people
good.
in the world, dude. I swear to God, they're
Scumbags?
Yeah, all scumbags. Well, because it's the only people who live in Miami are the poor who work for the rich and the rich. There's no in between. There's really no in between.
There's not really a middle class.
No, really, no. And if you are middle class, it's because you did really good working for the rich guy. And I think that's how it is normally, right? But yeah, it's
fucking wild.
Yeah. And there's a saying: "There's no wives in Miami." That's a saying because you would never want to marry a lot of the girls that are down there. Like,
Is that how you feel as well?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless they're like other yachties, because those are people from like different areas that came here for the job.
Sure.
You know, a lot of yachties are terrible people though, dude.
So in other words, you don't want to marry a Miami native. Oh, okay. It's so funny. Is there a lot of people who are like poor, but they'll buy an expensive car and just like use an irresponsible amount of their monthly income to pay that
And you
payment?
can always tell those people, right?
Okay.
Because I've really realized, especially with working with really rich people, there's the people who want to look rich, and then there's the people who are actually rich. Right?
Yeah.
They don't care about what they look like. They don't care about reminding you how good they look. Like, those are the people that when you go into a club, right, and you see them throwing money and buying bougie bottles, you know, stuff like that. A lot of times those aren't the really rich people. Those are just people who want to, like, have a private section, things like that. Because the really rich people, they're on their yachts partying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
They're not at the club.
They're not at the clubs.
Yeah.
No.
So what was the name of the first yacht that you worked on? Do you remember?
Not
also-
JD's, but
Also, this guy JD, is that when you said he was a party animal? What kind of drugs was he doing? Anything and everything? You know,
pretty
weed,
much
coke.
it was a shit ton of cocaine. I mean, pills. People crushed up pills.
What kind?
Fucking Xanax, Adderalls, fucking anything. Molly's a fun party drug. It was all uppers. It was nothing crazy like meth or heroin or, even downers like LSD, things like that. That wasn't really going on. Because you want something that's gonna get you up, you know, fun shit like that.
Yeah. It must be crazy. I don't think I've seen many people that are on cocaine. There was a guy at Tics who I'm convinced
was on coke.
Because he was like, "Hey man, where's the bathroom at?"
Yeah.
He came in, he's like, "What's up, man?"
Yeah.
Just like table for one.
Yeah. That motherfucker's wired on some shit.
Yeah, I was like,
that motherfucker just snorted his Adderall in the car
like,
before coming in here.
There's some people who are high strung, but he was not one of them, dude. There was something in his system.
He was on something. Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty. It's kind of intimidating for me. I've never done coke.
Yeah.
And I've never been around that many people that have done it. Or been on it, so it's like it is kind of weird to see somebody because they're at like a heightened level of like awareness and happiness. It's just
and sometimes it's weird too because like people will be on it and you can't tell. I know I could definitely tell being an addict. You know, I can tell you exactly what drug someone's on, or if I just smelt it, I'd be like, oh, that's a meth pipe.
Really?
You know? Oh yeah. There was one time when the bathroom had a really weird smell, and it was like I think it smells like maybe like heroin, like someone smoked heroin or something in there. And then he looked at me and he goes, "Go check," because he knows how I know the smell.
Oh, by the way, do you want to know why it records in 20-minute increments?
Wow, why does it do that?
It's because of tax reasons. Because if it just records unlimited, then it's technically a movie camera.
No way.
And then it just like, it somehow like fucks over the company who makes it.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and it pisses me the fuck off. It's I think there's probably a way to jailbreak it.
I mean, I feel like you could also get one of those wireless remotes that start and stop.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that could work too.
Because it totally affects the flow. You know?
Yeah.
It's hard. And it's a nice camera too. And this is going to make us look the best. Eventually, I want to get a multi-camera setup. Yeah. Or a 3-camera setup where there's one on the guest, me.
And you can kind of go in between people when you're watching the video and when someone's talking, you can, that'd be cool.
I've done that like once, and editing it was it took a long time. Yeah. But it's a way better viewing experience, and it's way better. And I'm glad you think I'm doing a good job of hosting because, as you know, I'm doing Ramadan, and it's just, I'm I'm
Yeah.
so tuckered out.
Yeah, I bet.
But also, I'm in like a heightened sense of like awareness. And
Oh, I bet.
And I'm drinking so much caffeine today. So it's like, I'm fucking wired.
That's funny.
I'm 1 cup of coffee away from having like severe shakes.
Really?
For sure.
I'm having shakes right now. I haven't eaten anything today, and I only drank that. So
Okay.
I think that's why I'm a little shaky.
So this guy JD, did you? Was he the first? Was that the start of like you being introduced to various drugs? And also, what was your first drug?
Well, I first started abusing my Adderall. That's
Okay.
the first thing. So I've been on Adderall my whole life. I've never actually really cared for it. There's times where I'm like, God, I don't want to take my Adderall today.
Right.
Just the effect that it gives you, like when you're actually taking it medicinally. But
How many milligrams?
I was on 45 milligrams a day. I was on two.
Starting, or did you start off on tens?
No, I think I started off on like a 5.
Okay.
But I took 220s. They're like 4 to 5 hour lasting. And then I had a 5 for instance, when I was in school, I would take it throughout the day, and I would get home, and my Adderall would be worn off, and I have homework, right? So I could take a quick 5 and only last for 2 hours. But it actually never did drugs with JD, which is really interesting. I never did drugs with him ever.
You never felt the urge?
No. Well, only because as well, like I knew that at some point I'm going to be responsible to get all these people back to land.
Right.
So, and I would drink a good amount, don't get me wrong. But I knew that I could get us back.
Right.
Definitely drink more than I should have. But it was
Like if you got pulled over by the Coast Guard, you would have been fucked.
Probably.
But you knew.
Actually, no, I put all the blame on JD if that came down to it.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, no, the captain's downstairs, passed out. Yeah.
Right.
So
You think they would buy that? Or you think that they would let you...
some drunken 40-year-old Miami. I was like 20 at the time. There's no way I own the yacht. You know what I mean?
No, would they be like, okay, you're off the hook then? If you...
I think in a certain way, yeah. I
Okay.
think that if they also saw how much drug, like, it would have been a great bust for them if they saw how many drugs he was on downstairs and passed out. You know,
crazy.
with a bunch of young girls on the boat. I mean, mind you, everyone was above 18. That was the number one rule. We always check IDs before they get aboard.
Really? Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So there was one time there was like a 16-year-old on the boat, and that's when
Did you have a fake?
No, there was one before, like, he kind of started checking IDs, and I was like, we need to start checking these IDs before the girls hop on the boat. You know, like, we're liable for a minor.
Sure.
You know, they're drunk, right? This looks really bad if something were to happen. So we started checking IDs and everything like that, but I started doing drugs for the first time in my crew house. I did coke for the first time with all of them there, like a lot of the other yachties.
And this was after you had done the 6 months working for JD, or was this during?
I want to say during.
Okay.
And I was on a heavy amount of drugs while I worked at the dive shop, all the way until the end. I was scuba diving, you know, on hardcore drugs. But I did it for the first time, and the next day I took my Adderall. My Adderall didn't really work as well because I had just hit myself with a huge dopamine hit. Now the next day my Adderall wasn't working, so I took an extra pill.
Right.
And then it kind of one thing led to another. You know, now I'm taking way too many pills, right, just for my Adderall to work.
Right.
That was my excuse. I told myself, I was like, I need to feel it.
And were you taking multiple 45s?
There were 2 20s and a 5, but I was popping 20s like they were candy. Like towards the end of it, especially. And then there's a huge shortage for Adderall in Miami. It's hard to get. So sometimes, and I don't know if I've told you this, but cocaine's, for someone who has really bad ADHD, cocaine wires you in the same way Adderall does. So when I wasn't able to get my medication,
dangerous.
I was taking cocaine. Right? When I wasn't able to, and that was my excuse. I'm like, I'm just taking it until I get my medication. And then one thing led to another. I'm taking too much, and then I finally would get my medication, and I would down the whole pill bottle in a day.
Like 30 of them? 30 20s?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was more like 2 days, because like I'd stay awake for multiple days on end. And I would just keep using until I physically wasn't able to anymore. Like for coke wise, I'd use for 3 days straight, go to sleep, wake up, use for another 3 days straight, go to sleep.
Whoa.
But I always had to stop on the 3rd day because your nose swells up so much. I couldn't fit any more drugs in my nose, pretty much, and I'd have to.
It just inflames, like the
I'll have
canals are just
I'll
like.
have to show you photos. My face would swell up, my whole sinus system. Yeah.
Wow.
And cocaine eats that shit. It's like I got like gasoline and shit in the process. It eats your fucking face. Like one of my nostrils right here is bigger than this one.
Okay.
I don't know if you can tell, but that was the main,
Sort of, but...
that was the main one I used through here. And I also have holes in the bridge between here, like the bridge. It's like worn out. It's like holes and stuff through it. So like if this nose was stuffed up, right, it could still breathe through this side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'll have to show you some nasty photos when I was using, but
That's crazy.
and it would swell up so much that I couldn't fit any more drugs up there, pretty much. And I'd have to sleep it off, let my face unswell.
How long does that take to unswell?
I mean, it really, once you go to bed and you wake up in the morning, because your nose is also bleeding, right? And it's so much pressure from the blood trying to get out and stuff. And it finally it really comes out. Like when you bleed a lot, like that really helps clean up your nose and open everything up. Like I'd wake up and my pillow was just bright red, just from all the blood.
Whoa.
Each time, yeah.
And how old were you when you tried it for the first time? You said
20.
it was with your bunk mates?
Yeah.
Or your, what is it called?
My crewmates, or like the other yachties in the crew house.
Oh, in the crew house.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was 20.
Okay.
Yeah, it was before I was even able to drink alcohol.
Wow.
Like before I was 21. I turned 21 in rehab. Yeah, I spent my 21st birthday in rehab.
Whoa. Okay, so it seems like a lot happened in a short amount of time.
Oh, it did.
And it
Yeah.
came crashing down
Pretty
very
much.
quickly as well.
Pretty much, yeah. I had to leave Florida. My dad actually went out there and got me, and flew me back home. I didn't go to rehab immediately. Flew me back home, which was a bad decision because my main thing is Adderall. Like, if you put every drug in front of me, Adderall is gonna be the first thing that I pick up if I'm gonna use.
Right.
I think cocaine is the dirty Adderall, like the feeling of it.
What, it's like it's like the difference between like tea gives you a very focused caffeine high, and then coffee just makes you just like
No, yeah,
is it
pretty
kind
much.
of it's pretty
I
much
think
that.
it's exactly like that. It's a
Okay.
huge dopamine hit. It makes you super happy, and if you abuse Adderall, it gives you a high. It does give you a high.
Really?
If you take it too much, yeah. You get really bad paranoia though. Even with Coke, I was very paranoid. Like I would think I was dying.
Okay, so it wasn't like
I'd go through drug-induced psychosis a lot of the times.
Right.
I would actually called an ambulance because I thought my brain, or like I thought I blew up my whole sinus system, and that I was like bleeding out of my brain and shit. Like you see shit. 3 days awake, you're gonna start seeing shit. You know,
Right.
especially when you're doing that all the time, and you're on
Yeah.
so much fucking drugs, like you fucking start freaking out.
right.
I gave myself. I had a lot of medical equipment as well from being a rescue diver. You have to bring that with you, like 100% oxygen tanks, like the shit that you see like EMTs carry. And I was always trying to like fix myself and stuff too, because I thought I was dying. Like I'd shower and I would have a 100% O2 tank on it with a mask I'd wear, and I'd just sit there and try to like calm down, like flush out my system. But my dad went and got me. He brought me back home. My mom takes Adderall as well. That's I think really important too, and that's what made me realize I needed to go to rehab, because I was stealing her pills when I came home. I couldn't get cocaine anymore, and I still wanted a high. And I know that I couldn't get Adderall, like a bunch more Adderall, so I'd burn through mine, and then I'd go steal my mom's.
Right.
And she would hide it. I'd still find it. And it was around. I was home for 2 months, pretty much, just abusing Adderall still. And I was like, you know what? I need to go to rehab. This is what I need to do. I clearly thought
This is your decision.
it was my decision. My parents left it up to me, and I think that was a great idea, because I think if they would have sent me to rehab, it wouldn't have worked. You gotta want to get better, right? And all of the people that I
Absolutely.
went to rehab with who were sent there, I know they're all still went out and using. Like I know one of my buddies, he's on his 4th round of rehab now.
But it only took one for you.
No, I wanted to go, right? I wanted to get better, right? When you're forced to get better, you don't want to, right? It's like, they sent me here, I can't, like you spend their whole time in rehab, like people are like they sent me here, I don't even need to be here, you know? You have to hit that breaking point, and you're like, I need help. I clearly can't help. I can't do it on my own, right? And that I realized that for myself, because I thought coming home I was going to get better, right? When I went back, when my dad brought me back here to
Just a
Washington,
change of scenery.
yeah, I was like, I don't have access to cocaine. When I got here, I realized I will steal my mom's medication. That's a problem, right? I clearly cannot stop myself enough from using that. I will hurt everyone around me just so that I can continue my high. I was like, I have a problem. I need to get some help. And I flew to Texas for rehab. Great facility. It was called Starlight Rehab Facility. Awesome people. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy that even when you're in the midst of that, addiction, which totally, I'm not sure if I'll cut this out just because my grandma's gonna watch
fair.
it, but it's But dude, like even when I was on weed and I couldn't stop weed, like even that changed like my perspective, and I became just like so emotional. And it's like, so even being like, I would go to I would spend money irresponsibly, like money that I should not have spent, like because I just need another eighth. Yeah. And so like I just can't imagine what that's like on like amphetamines, because as you and I have talked about, Adderall is an amphetamine.
Oh yeah, it's an amphetamine.
So for you to be in the midst of addiction and then to stop yourself and be like, okay, I need to go to rehab. I mean, you probably didn't know what you were in for totally in terms of the pain and the uncomfortable feelings you were going to experience. But for you to be like, all right, I'm just gonna, like, I need to not do this anymore.
You get to a point where you just want to stop using drugs, right? But you can't. Right. There were so many times where I was like, I don't want to be on coke right now. I don't, but I can't stop.
Right.
I can't stop. And same with Adderall, right? I would go into such paranoia and stuff, and it's like, I don't want to be high right now, right? But I'm gonna get high. I cannot stop, right? The feeling of not being on it, like the withdrawal was so bad, you just get to that point.
Right.
And that's kind of was literally my breaking point. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I'm going to kill myself, right? I gave myself heart problems, I gave myself a lot of like different like mental problems as well. I mean, like, so this isn't something that I share with people at work. After rehab, my body changed a lot.
Human body's very resilient.
It's fucking crazy, man.
It is wild.
It's crazy. I mean, just like I have a sweating problem too. Ever since I quit drugs, I sweat so much. More than I've ever sweat in my entire life. Like at work, like I have a whole shirt sweat. My body contains my weight differently. I used to be so scrawny that you could wrap your whole hand around. Like I was scrawny. That's how I was my whole life. Right. I feel like I'm pretty filled out now, and I can't lose that weight. I don't know what it is. My body's just changed so much from quitting drugs. Yeah.
Is cocaine like an appetite suppressant? Like for example,
you don't eat on it. Yeah.
Okay. Like on
same with Adderall.
On psilocybin, you don't really. You have no appetite, and that's and then. Adderall, I have not really experienced any appetite suppressant, but I'm only on 10 milligrams.
Yeah.
So it's probably, and then when I ran out and I couldn't use it for 5 days, I felt just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything goes back to your normal body pretty much. It feels like you eat normal.
So one thing I'm curious about, first of all, one thing that came to mind is, did you ever fall into the Jordan Belfort state of mind where it's like, where before you fully admitted that you had a problem, you said to yourself, no, I found the perfect balance.
Oh yeah, 100%.
This much Adderall and this much Coke.
It's so much easier to like tell yourself that you don't have a problem and convince yourself that you don't have a problem when it's a medication that you're prescribed.
Yeah.
Right? When it's a doctor that's giving it to you. Right? They don't know I'm abusing it, right? But it's like, that's the idea, is like, anyone can do this. It's legal. What I'm doing isn't wrong. Right? Yeah. The cocaine is a little different, right? But that's how it felt with Adderall. I was like, I can stop, right? Anytime I want. This is just perfect for me, the amount that I'm taking. It's okay. I'm using cocaine because it feels the same as Adderall, so that made me feel like it was more okay.
Right.
And 100%. Yeah, and it's not until like you like run out or you can't stop, or like, you get yourself 20 grand in debt, that you're like, you hit your breaking point, and you're like, okay, I just was making excuses to make it feel okay for me to do it.
Yeah.
It's like when people like vaping, it's like, we'll stop vaping. They're like, oh, I can stop anytime I want. I just don't want to. You're addicted. You're fucking addicted. Yeah. You're just telling yourself that you could stop anytime you want because you've gone 2 days without it before.
Right.
You're addicted.
I've done it before.
Yeah, right.
8 months ago.
Yeah, right? Like,
there's nobody at Tics though that's in that frame of mind. There's like a few people at Tics that don't do any nicotine. There's a few. Yeah. But everybody behind the line and most of the people, in front of house.
Oh yeah.
They we're all, not me, but
not me, grandma.
No, but it's crazy, man. And one of the things that comes to mind also is that because I love film, I love movies, and one of the things that comes to mind is just when you're talking about those days and those nights where you're partying hard, it's just like the romanticism of it all, and you're just like, everybody's having a great time. And did it ever like were you, because Bert Kreischer is kind of this way, this comedian, where
Yeah,
he never wants the party to stop. And would you try to stave off like the come down by just like
keep using it and drinking and
or like or you feel like you need to go to bed, but you're like, no, I can't. I can't stop. I can't face what comes after this. So I got to keep going.
Yeah, 100%.
And did a lot of people around you like have just as bad of a problem as you did? So they kind of encouraged you to.
In a way, I know there's a couple of people that were in the crew houses that had a coke problem and things like that, right? And they wanted to keep going. When I was at my worst, I wasn't in the crew houses anymore. I got my own little smaller place that I could privately do my drugs and shit like that at my worst. But yeah, no, 100%. People are like, all right, well, they'd wake up in the morning and they have another drink so the hangover doesn't hit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even if it doesn't get them drunk, they just don't want the hangover to hit yet. But yeah. I think a lot of people are like that same mindset too.
Sure. Yeah.
Also, it's like none of those people were spending so much money on coke. Like if you run out, you're like, all right, I ran out. Right now, I'm gonna crash and I want to go to bed.
Right.
But yeah, there'll be times where I'll go back outside and they're still partying. You know, I'll go to bed and I'll wake up and they're still partying. Yeah.
So were a lot of people, because a lot of these, obviously this was the crew house, so they worked on yachts. So were a lot of people going to work like on a massive like hangover, I guess?
Man, there's still be people that were still drunk, still wired on coke, showing up to their shift. Because a lot of times those boats were docked there for a while until their next charter.
Right.
So like the boat's not going anywhere. Right. It's not as much of a risk if you're showing up and you're still a little bit under the influence of alcohol. You can definitely get in trouble for it.
Sure.
You know,
you just got to keep it together.
Yeah, but I think everyone is also so. When it comes to working on the boats, everything switches. Everything turns off. Partying turns off for you. It is so strict, right? And if you mess up, something catches on fire, right? It's a big fucking deal, right? You don't drink, you don't do drugs. That's why they party so much when they're on land.
Right.
When they come back and they live in those crew houses, because you don't do that on the boat. You don't drink, you don't do drugs.
Yeah. And that's probably a thing that can convince people that it's okay, because it's like, no, I'm gonna go back out on my next charter, and then I can't do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah. And because I completely agree. When you're on that boat for 3 months, you know, and you
3 months, huh?
Oh yeah, there's people who, especially if you work full time, you know, you live on the boat for like 2 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Like you're allowed on and off, like when you go into docks and stuff. But when you're also working, like one of my boats, you worked 3 weeks straight, right? There's no days off on those boats. And then at the end of the month, you have to go stop. They dock, and then the crew gets to get off for a week and have fun. You go drink, go check out whatever country you're in. Yeah, so it's like you wire in for like 3 weeks, right? You focus in, right? Like you do your job. You're like, we'll have fun at our next stop, right? Right now, though, sometimes you feel like you need to work extra hard to want to be there. They're giving you free housing, you know, they're giving you free food, right? You don't want to slack off, because if you get kicked off, you know what I mean? Like,
you're fucked.
No, literally, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And you said that a lot of people were taking a big chance, you know, because
it is a big chance. There's a lot of school.
Right.
And I would lose all my certifications if like I had drugs on me, or if I got caught high on a boat. I'd lose all my certifications.
Right.
I would never be able to work and do that again.
And you said that if there was an accident, then did you tell me this, that if there's an accident, then you get drug tested?
Yes, even with the scuba boats.
Okay.
So if somebody gets hurt and something happens, it's the captain's responsibility to take all crew and immediately go to a facility and get drug tested and alcohol tested, right? Therefore, you are not accountable for being drunk and something happening, right? Because it's, at the end of the day, if something happens on the boat, it goes down on the captain, right? If I fuck up and the boat catches on fire, where was the captain to put the fire out? You know, why wasn't the crew... You know, like I'm trying to put out this fire. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Right? Everything falls on the captain, so they take you and their whole crew, because they're responsible to make sure you get tested within a certain time period of an incident aboard.
The time between you working on your last yacht to your dad picking you up and bringing you back home, and back home you mean here, because he retired here. Okay, so did you like? Were you in such a bad place that you could no longer work on a yacht?
And I just full time worked at the dive shop.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I left the dive shop, went back to it, did different, like worked on different boats and stuff.
But this was all within a year, right?
A little over a year.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want to say I was probably like 19 when I really got over there and like went through school, and like it took a while. So I also got my engineering degree for maritime. I'm a maritime engineer as well. Yeah, so which I can work in the engine rooms and stuff.
Yeah, one of those remotes.
It would be clutch. Yeah. I have so many GoPros too that I can bring over. The new GoPros shoot in 5.3K, dude. They're fucking impressive.
Yeah, and they probably record for 6
so
hours.
Fucking long. You can just keep it plugged in, dude.
And we can just put it right here.
I'll bring some of them because I used to use them for diving. The only thing that sucks about a GoPro is the audios are always shit on them.
Right.
Shit audio. That's why this was from my GoPro. I have a mount that I take it out of the case, and this is what plugged into the back of the GoPro.
Okay.
So that I can get good picture quality, because it's great picture quality, and then this would give me that good audio.
Yeah.
But we're already getting the audio from that, so like it doesn't matter.
So shit audio is not. Yeah, it's not really big of an issue.
Yeah, because I bought a bunch of GoPros because I taught a class. There's underwater photography. Was one of my biggest passions at the time. I was a huge underwater photographer.
Yeah.
And one of the classes is you can do a course for underwater photography, and I taught some of those classes. So I bought 3 GoPros for my students to use, and if they didn't have an underwater camera, that works well. So, and I kind of let them learn on that for that week course.
It shoots in 5K.
5.3K, yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even have 4K on this thing.
Oh, really?
It's like 1080p.
I know, but also you get your frame rate, the color that it picks up. I guarantee it's 10 times better than my GoPro. I think there's also so many better things that like.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like mine will shoot in 5.3K, but if I put it all the way over there, the picture over here is not going to be as good as what we're getting on that.
Sure.
Like if it's right next to us, it can be fucking great quality. Right?
Okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting. That would be much better. Photography was something I got into when I was like 18, sort of, because I had a YouTube channel when I was in high school. And I was watching back those videos, and an unfortunate byproduct of me posting this on YouTube is that people are going to see it, and then they're going to scroll down to my old videos. Yeah, and they're terribly embarrassing.
I deleted all my old videos when I was. Yeah,
it's not even that like I was super cringy, which I was. It was that I watched Jake and Logan Paul's vlogs back then. Yeah. So I was like imitating them.
100%. I couldn't. Yeah.
I would do the type of transitions.
Yeah, like that shit, like that.
What's up, guys?
Yeah.
Terrible.
I get it, man.
And I privatized a lot of them, but not all of them. And now that I'm a year older than I was when I privatized like the last little bit of them, I'm probably going to privatize even more. Yeah. It's just terribly embarrassing, but it's a great creative outlet.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
It's something I just want to start doing again. And dude, like in this conversation, it's like it's captive. I mean, the saddest stories are like the stories where people like go into the depths of hell. It's like those are the most captivating stories. Yeah. I don't have the most interesting life in terms of I haven't had a lot of bad shit happen to me. But that's like it's just wild, and I didn't fully realize like how short of a time it was in between you like getting to Florida, and then you like
having to leave,
and just like spiraling out.
Oh yeah,
that's completely crazy.
Dude, it went by so fast.
And where in Texas were you at the facility?
I think it was like an hour out of Houston, because I remember I flew into Houston and a driver picks you up. They pick you up from the airport because they also don't want to risk. They cover your flight and everything too, and the whole purchase. And the whole insurance covers your flight.
This is all covered by insurance, or was there?
It came out to $123,000 my rehab visit.
There's zero copay.
I think I paid in total $1,500.
Wow.
Yeah, down for my copay.
Oh my goodness.
I paid $1,500, but
it's like 1%.
I'll have to send you a picture of the bill. It's insane because it's also a medical facility. Right. They have to have they have doctors that are there full time, nurses, counselors, right? So it's like if you went to go stay in a hospital for 45 days, it's gonna come out to like a shit ton of money. Right. And they charge the same amount. And fucking insurance just fucking pays that shit.
Was that how long you were there? Only 45 days?
Well, I was only there for 30 in the beginning. And I figured out, they're like, hey, insurance covered you for another 15 if you want it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make the best out of it. Stayed for another 15. They're like, hey, insurance is covering you for 60 if you want it. I didn't do 60 because a lot of people are only there for 30 days. And once that 30-day cycle, you do that 30-day cycle, it's like repeating the same
program,
okay, if that makes sense. Yeah. So after that extra 15 days, I was like, I don't need to. I think I'm good. I think I got it wired down. I was also afraid to leave.
Sure.
A lot of people are afraid to leave, and that's why they stay longer.
Yeah.
They're afraid to go back out into the real world, and that was so intimidating.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
going out as a sober person, you know.
You find you start to wonder, like, who am I? Like what does a normal person
Right.
do?
Yeah, it's scary because like you're in a bubble when you're in rehab.
Totally.
Because like you don't have to worry about drugs.
Right.
It's not around you. Right. When you go out in the real world, it's like anything can happen, and now it's on me. I don't have my counselor to run to and ask questions about. Yeah, that was really freaky when I hit the airport and I was just out with all of the other people. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel reformed?
Yeah. As in reformed as in.
Did you feel changed?
Oh,
Like
100%.
fully?
I felt like a completely different human being. And I think rehab definitely made me a completely different person than I am now. I have a lot different appreciation for, I feel like, just life.
Right.
Right? And
Yeah.
I mean-
yeah, because when you're struggling with addiction, nothing is good enough. Only like having like insane dopamine hits and like only being in an intoxicated state. That's the only thing that's good enough.
no, seriously. And I think it's interesting. Like after I went to rehab, I didn't really realize how close I was to death. Like it's a miracle that I made it out alive from all the using that I did.
Really?
Spending around $18,000 to like $20,000 on cocaine and never running into fentanyl is crazy. You know,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Right.
I mean, just the strain I put on my heart, and after going to like the doctors that were there, they're like, "Oh my God, like you're in really bad condition." Just listening to my heart and things like that, and I was like, "Wow, this is like I knew I kind of had a wake up call, but this is really like, oh my God, I'm surprised I wasn't dead."
What was like the fallout of it? Like when you got back home and you were like reflecting on everything that happened.
That was really hard. It's hard to, because when you're on drugs and stuff like that, you don't really care as much about other people and how you affect them.
Sure.
You know, like it didn't really matter as much when I was taking my mom's pills. You know, I was focusing on myself, right?
Right.
Like other things didn't really matter as much. And then to go back to that, it's just, you feel so guilty. It's like, I still feel so much guilt for what I put my entire family through.
Right.
You know, and your friends, things like that.
What does that do to like your relationship with your mom long term? Are you guys now? Do you have a relationship where you communicate so much now?
I feel like I used to, 100%. I used to never talk about my feelings ever. I was one of those guys. I never talked about my feelings.
Right.
And it wasn't until rehab, because you're forced to sit every day for hours and talk about your
Group
feelings.
therapy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just talk about your feelings. Like that's all you do in rehab, is just talk about your feelings, things like that. And ever since that, I'm like way better with talking about my feelings and sharing how I feel with certain things.
Right.
But yeah, so I think it also kind of made us a bit closer after.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did it take her a while? Like when you came back, was she convinced that you were changed?
No, I hadn't. When I was using and after rehab, I had no feelings or emotions, right? I fried the shit out of my brain. Like,
Right.
I was on so much dopamine, I wasn't able to feel happy, sad. I couldn't feel anything. So when I came home, I was sober, but I wasn't me.
Right.
And my mom talks about it all the time. It took me, I want to say, a year, and I feel like I'm a lot more outgoing person than I was a year ago. My mom says that all the time.
Right.
And I think I'm still kind of getting better. Like my body is still getting back to being normal.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, it took a while for like my feelings and everything to come back. And then I also drank way too much when I got out of rehab. I still think I drink too much now.
Right. Well, you're working on that, you said.
Yeah, I've been working on that. I drank last night, but like I'm not gonna drink tonight. I'm probably gonna go another week without drinking. If you're not careful, like it's so easy to pick up one thing and drop another. You know, drop one thing and pick up another.
Well, they always say you don't get rid of a habit. You just replace it.
Yeah, and I was definitely right when I got back. I was replacing it with alcohol. That's when I got arrested.
Yeah.
For my
what year was
physical
that?
control. I mean, this was
2024.
Yeah. I mean, fuck. I think it's been a year since I've been arrested, I want to say.
Okay.
Maybe even less than that. I don't know. It was also a bullshit kind of deal. Like but I was definitely picked it up, like I'm replacing it with alcohol, and I still do that sometimes. But I also, it's so easy to make the excuse, I'm young, I'm 22. That's why I want to drink all the time. You know,
right.
It's like I'm finally legally able to drink, and that's also such a good excuse to make yourself feel better.
Yeah, but most 22-year-olds that have that reasoning, it's like they have not gone through what you've gone through.
No, and if I'm not careful, like I'll pick up something else. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and yeah,
that's why a lot of people in my family close to me are in AA, and a lot of their friends from AA, they quit and then they just start running fucking marathons, or they do something that's incredibly intense. You know, that's just kind of how it goes.
Pick up something else, yeah.
Right.
And I think I need to find something else to pick up on. I mean, like, I have, like, no hobbies. I used to race motocross, things like that. My bike's in Florida. I mean, I don't know. I think I just need to pick up a new hobby, right? Sure. And I'm really glad that I'm doing this, because I've been wanting to do this forever, right?
Well, a podcast?
Yeah. I've been wanting to do this forever. So I'm really glad that we're doing this today, because I feel like I've always talked about it, but I've never had anyone that's wanted to do it with me.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's it's not an easy thing to do, just be able to talk and talk and talk. But it's really, Hoblet and I were talking about this. It's the reason why it's so good for somebody with ADHD is because it's like structure. It's like
100%.
This is what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We're just we're talking about, I have a set list of things in my mind that I want to talk about, and it's the only thing that's going on right
100%.
now.
And you have the hard job. I have the easy job, because you have to. Because I feel like that's why I was saying you're such a good host, because you're keeping the conversation going, right? You're the one that, like, I don't have to edit this. Right? You have the hard job. You know, making sure the equipment's working and things like that. You know, it's like it's a lot hard. It's so much easier for me to sit down and do it when I don't have to do the hard part after this. Yeah. You know,
but also opening up is not easy.
Oh no. It's hard. And I feel like I'm also really good at talking about anything. I mean, I'll let the whole world know that I'm an addict. I mean, that's also just part of rehab, right? They really glorify the idea that you shouldn't feel guilty, right? It's like it's something that you did, and you're an even stronger person for coming out of this. Yeah. Right. And that's how I feel, right? Like, I don't worry about, like, people think, like, oh, he's an addict. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fucking care. Like, I'm a way better person now. Yeah. Right? And, yeah, so.
And no one will understand that hasn't gone through it.
No, yeah.
You know, you kind of, it's almost like an ego death. You're just like, I've already been the most embarrassed I'm ever going to be. No, yeah. So it's like,
I've done
fuck it, dude.
Right? Seriously. Yeah. And especially with Tourette's, too. Like, I'm going to overshare anyway. Either way, I'm going to say shit. So it's like, I think that also makes me comfortable with talking about. I've spent my whole life explaining what Tourette's is to people, and, like, taking out in public and having people look at me, you know. I feel like I'm really good at just, I can share anything and say anything. And
when you got back from rehab and your brain was in the state of, like, healing, and you're having a tough time, did you have more tics then?
I still have more tics because of it. Yeah, 100%.
More tics after using? Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But you said, so was this when, because we were talking about it at work, were you much younger when you'd go to the store and you would, like, say racial slurs?
Yeah, middle school and high school was the worst my Tourette's has ever been. Okay. My Tourette's and my tics. It's a huge thing when you're going through puberty. It's anyone with Tourette's, it's always worse.
I mean, your hormones are just skyrocketing.
No, yeah, literally. And so it was the worst then. Like, I have a lot more control. I mean, I'll show you videos of me when I was younger. Like, I had zero control. Like, I'd have to scream things in stores. When I was in the airport, like, I'm going to yell, "I have a bomb." Oh yeah. You always had to warn the airport and stuff before you fly. Like, hey, I have Tourette's, I'm coming in. You make it known, right? They even call the gate. There's been a time where I've gone to the airport and they bring you in. They bring you in through a private TSA screening, right? And then they have you sit in a room until your plane's gonna board, and then they bring you to the plane. So I'm not walking around the airport. Right. It was really nice of them. Sure. It's really cool, but it freaks people out when someone yells, "I have a bomb, I have a gun," things like that. So they hold you in that room.
Definitely.
They let the whole plane board, and they usually give a speech that says something about that someone that has Tourette's on the flight, and they kind of like.
The flight attendant says that?
It's usually always the captain. Okay. The captain comes out personally and goes on the intercom and asks, first of all, making sure does everyone know what it is, kind of explains what it is for people who don't know, right? And then I board the plane.
So are you the last person to board?
When I was bad enough, yeah.
Right. But now, like if you were with a friend and you had one of those tics, like would you just have like whisper it to them?
So I flew with Grayson to Nashville not too long ago.
Yeah.
And Grayson is a huge outlet for me to let my tics out.
Okay.
I need to say it to someone.
Right.
Especially if it's something racial, things like that. And sometimes I'll even text it to her. I can get it out in that way.
Okay, that's helpful.
Mm-hmm. And the entire time I was like, I have a bomb. And she just rubbed my back and she's like, yeah, you do. Yeah. I also have tics too, that it's like a 2-person tic. She has to finish the tic. Like I have one that I still do it. It's Autism Awareness Month. Say thank you, and then she has to say thank you. That was one of my tics. I still have that one. Yeah, or yeah. So like sometimes she'll have to finish the tic, and sometimes I'll even do it to Elena, and she'll do it.
Really?
Yeah, she'll finish. She'll finish my tic for me.
Oh my goodness, man. That's fucking crazy. And I kind of not that I understand what it's like to have Tourette's, but it's like whenever I'm in any situation, I always think of what's the worst thing I could do right now? Like what could I do to make this situation the most awkward possible?
That's how Tourette's is. That's literally how it is. Yeah.
But you just have to let it out.
I have to. Yeah. It's like for instance, if I see a black family is going to come in and I can see them before they walk in, right? What's the worst thing I can say? A racial slur. Right. So that's how my brain is. That's what I have to hold in, if that makes sense. Right. Yeah.
Do you ever like whisper it to yourself, or
I do? I'll let it out a little bit sometimes. I'll just hold it in, really, mainly. I haven't had any racial slur tics at work. That's like the one I hold in. Or anything sexual, I really try to hold in as well. Good. Yeah, especially if there's kids nearby. I had one the other day that was bad, and everyone was like, "Shh!" And I was like, "I'm gonna go step outside." I don't know if you were there for that. That was when
the one about Santa.
I was like, "I'm gonna pop my pussy for Santa," or some shit like that. I think that's what I said, and everyone's like, "Shh!" And I went and walked outside, and I let him out a little bit, and I came back in. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
You went out to the alleyway.
Yeah, I went out. They went to where we all smoke out back and shit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Man.
Yeah, that was a bad one. It was loud. That was loud too. I know, like the whole front part of the restaurant heard that.
Right. Do you ever like? Is one of the tics that like comes to mind? Is it if somebody walks up to the host desk and they're not an attractive person? Like, do you ever like feel
fat jokes or something? Or not jokes, like fat tics. That's one of them. Yeah.
Like, but is it? Yeah, because your tics are like sentences. So do you say like? So is something in your mind like, "Oh, you're fat as fuck"?
Yeah. 100%. Okay. Well, it's based off of what's the worst thing I can say, like you were brought up earlier.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, it even translates over to Grayson too. Like, I have so many that I hold in from Grayson, right? Like talking to him, like bringing up another girl's name or saying something. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like, what's the worst thing that I could say?
Yeah.
Right. Saying another girl's name or something like that. I hold a lot of those in. She knows that. Yeah. So it really is whoever's in front of me and what. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
No, yeah. So, like, for instance, if I knew there was something that really offended you, right? Like, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it.
And then once you let that out, then are you like, "Oh, I'm sorry"? Like,
yeah, I immediately explain what I have Tourette's. I used to carry cards on me. There was like my name, it was a picture of me, and it said I have Tourette's. Well, I had the definition for Tourette's because nobody, when you're younger, when I was 16, I'm walking around Walmart cursing, nobody believes that I have Tourette's.
Right.
They're like, this kid's just being a douchebag and cursing and screaming. So I carried cards, and it really helped. Like, because who cares? You know what I mean? Like, who's like that really, like, who carries that unless they actually have it?
Sure. Unless you are a fucking douchebag.
No, unless I am just a fucking dude, yeah. But yeah, so I'd carry the cards. It helped out a lot. I still would just get kicked out of places all the time. I couldn't go to Walmart for like a year.
You got trespassed?
Yeah, like I would walk in and I'd immediately get kicked out. It's also just sometimes not worth the argument. You just leave.